So I want you to just picture something for a second. You're scrolling through your phone on just a random Tuesday. Maybe you're reading the news or, checking up on a neighborhood Facebook group or just kind of looking over what your kids are watching online. And suddenly your thumb stops because you see a face.
Oh, yeah.
And it is unforgettable. And I definitely do not mean that in a good way. It's this pale, really gaunt woman. And she has these bulging, completely lidless eyes that just seem to stare like straight through the screen at you.
Right. It's terrifying.
She has this unnaturally wide, almost carved-looking grin and long, stringy black hair, plus this elongated, really bird-like mouth.
It's the kind of image that triggers just an immediate, visceral biological response. Like, even as a grown adult, when you look at it, your brain's threat detection system just totally lights up.
Yeah, exactly.
It's deeply unsettling.
Right, it completely hijacks your nervous system. And back in, 2018 and 2019, this face, which was known simply as Momo, was basically inescapable.
It really was.
And the story attached to this face was just pure nightmare material. The narrative was that Momo was the avatar of this sinister, highly viral challenge that was spreading across WhatsApp and YouTube.
And the claim was that it was a highly sophisticated digital predator.
Right, exactly. A predator that was somehow contacting children, hacking their devices, completely bypassing parental controls, and manipulating them into acts of self-harm, up to and including suicide.
Which obviously became an absolute global crisis. I mean, parents were terrified to let their kids anywhere near a screen.
Oh, totally.
Schools were sending home urgent warning letters. Police departments across, multiple continents were issuing these huge public alerts about this massive cyber threat.
But there is a massive twist to this entire phenomenon,
Yeah.
like a twist that fundamentally changes how we really need to look at everything we do online.
Yeah.
It was entirely a hoax.
Completely fake.
There was no Momo. There was no organized suicide ring hacking into children's iPads. None of it. The real story we're looking at today isn't about a digital predator at all. It's about the adults who panicked. It's about the algorithmic architecture that basically monetized that panic.
Yeah.
And it's about the very real-world harm that was caused by our frantic, desperate attempts to, protect each other.
And when we started pulling the research for this deep dive, it became so clear that we are looking at just a masterclass in modern anxiety.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the sources we've got for this because they are incredibly broad.
Yeah, we have a really vast array here. We're looking at peer-reviewed public health studies from JMIR Mental Health, and that's really focusing on the actual mechanics of suicide contagion.
Which is heavy, but so important.
Right. Then we have some deep cultural analysis from Indiana University ScholarWorks, looking at the folklore aspect. We've got research from the Scalar Environmental Humanities Project, too.
Right, and we're pairing all that high-level academic theory with really grounded practical data. So we're looking at statements from the Mental Health Foundation of New Zealand, child safety charities in the UK, and network traffic data from the UK Parliament's Southwest Grid for Learning.
And our mission today is really to just tear down the anatomy of a modern moral panic. We're going to trace exactly how a completely harmless physical piece of art from Japan mutated into this global boogeyman.
Yeah.
But more importantly, we're going to examine what this reveals about the hidden architecture of the internet, why our brains fall for it so easily, and how you can navigate a digital landscape that's just filled with these modern ghost stories without accidentally feeding the panic yourself.
Okay, let's unpack this because whether you're a parent or an internet user or honestly just someone fascinated by human psychology, this deep dive is just incredible. It shows how easily our collective strings can be pulled.
It really does. And to understand the digital ghost, you really have to start with the physical body.
Right.
Because the true origin of the Momo image is actually a fascinating piece of art history that is completely divorced from the internet.
This is the part that just blew my mind when we were prepping.
Yeah.
Momo wasn't a digital rendering.
No.
It wasn't Photoshop. It definitely wasn't some AI-generated image made by a malicious hacker in a dark basement. It was a tangible, physical sculpture.
Yeah, you could reach out and touch it.
Exactly. It was a piece called Mother Bird. And it was created back in 2016 by a Japanese special effects artist named Keisuke Iso for a company called Link Factory.
Great.
He literally carved and molded this thing out of natural rubber and plant oils.
And the intention behind the sculpture had absolutely zero connection to internet challenges or modern technology.
None at all.
Iso was drawing on a very deep, very specific tradition of Japanese folklore. He based the mother bird on the ubume, which is a type of yukai or spirit,
Okay, let's break down that yukai concept for a
Sure.
second, just because it really contextualizes where this image came from.
Certainly. So in Japanese folklore, yokai are a class of supernatural entities, and they can be malevolent or mischievous, or sometimes they even bring good fortune.
Kind of a wide spectrum.
Exactly. But the Ubium specifically is a deeply tragic figure. It's the spirit of a woman who died during childbirth or died leaving a newborn baby behind.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And the folklore often depicts the Yubim returning to the physical world, just completely tormented by her loss. She's trying to care for her living child, or sometimes she tries to hand the child off to a passerby.
That is so sad.
It is. And she is frequently depicted as having bird-like features, or literally transforming into a bird with blood-stained feathers.
So, okay, the sculpture is basically an artist's interpretation of immense grief and maternal tragedy.
Yes.
It's just a piece of physical art. And it was displayed in an alternative art gallery in Tokyo back in 2016. So the obvious question is, how does a piece of rubber sitting in a gallery in Japan become the face of a WhatsApp terrorist in South America 2 years later?
Right, the jump is massive. So the pipeline from physical art to digital terror actually starts on Reddit.
Of course it does.
Yeah. In July 2018, a user took a photo of the mother bird sculpture, but they cropped out the bird-like body, so it was just that hyper-focused, gaunt face with the staring eyes.
Right, just the creepiest part.
Exactly, and they posted it to the forum. Creepy. Now, this is a community specifically built for sharing unsettling imagery.
Yeah.
The user didn't invent a story about a suicide game. They didn't claim it was a hacker. They just posted the image because it looked bizarre.
But the visual hook was so incredibly strong. I was actually reading through some of the archive comments from that original Reddit thread, and people were having intense physical reactions to just the cropped photo.
It's that uncanny valley effect.
Yeah, one user literally wrote that they tried to stare the picture down, to convince their brain it was fake, but they just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
They said they were legitimately shaking and had to scroll away.
And that is your amygdala taking over.
Right?
The amygdala is the part of your brain responsible for processing fear and threat detection. So when it sees an image with features that are human, just slightly wrong, like the unnatural grin or the lidless eyes, it triggers the uncanny valley effect.
It just screams danger.
Exactly. Your brain cannot categorize it as safe, so it floods your system with adrenaline. That visual hook is what primed the internet for the panic.
But I mean, an image alone doesn't create a global crisis.
No, it doesn't.
You need a catalyst. You need a tragedy to attach the fear to.
Right. And that devastating catalyst happened in a town called Ingeniero Mashvitz in Argentina. A 12-year-old girl tragically died by suicide.
Ah, that's just awful.
It's heartbreaking. When local authorities investigated, they found her phone, and they discovered she had been messaging an 18-year-old on WhatsApp, and she had been recording videos on her phone right before her death.
Okay, so they have a phone, they have WhatsApp messages. What happens next?
Well, anyone who studies psychology or public health knows that youth suicide is an agonizingly complex issue.
Oh, yeah. It's never simple.
Right. It involves a whole web of adolescent mental health struggles, social pressures, family dynamics, neurochemistry, trauma. It is almost never the result of a single isolated variable.
Yeah, that's just a fact.
But the local police, and then immediately the local media, they found that unsettling image from Reddit on her phone.
The cropped mother bird picture.
Yes. And they drew a direct, completely unverified line. They announced to the public that she was the victim of a WhatsApp terror game called Momo.
Okay, I have to stop right there because the logic is just so deeply flawed.
It really is.
Finding a scary picture on a teenager's phone after a tragedy and then announcing that the picture caused the tragedy. So it's like finding a Stephen King novel on the nightstand of someone who committed a crime and blaming the paperback for their actions.
Yes, exactly.
It completely ignores causality. You were taking a piece of media consumption and elevating it to the architect of their mental state. It's absurd.
It's the ultimate confusion of correlation, or honestly even just coincidental presence with causation.
Right.
But you have to look at the psychological function that flawed logic serves for a community in mourning.
How do you mean?
Well, when a 12-year-old dies by suicide, the community is shattered. The grief and the guilt are overwhelming. The adults are left asking, how did we miss the signs? What is wrong with our society?
And those are impossible, heavy questions. They're too much to bear.
Precisely. So when someone offers a simple, linear explanation, it wasn't systemic failure, it wasn't a hitting mental health crisis, it was an evil app called Momo, the community just latches onto it.
Ah, I see. It's a defense mechanism.
It is. Blaming a digital monster gives the tragedy a clear villain, and more importantly, it provides an illusion of control.
Right, because you can't easily fix adolescent depression, but you can delete an app. You can block a phone number.
Exactly.
But because the media ran with this narrative, it became the established template. And suddenly, every time a teenager struggled, the media retroactively applied the Momo template to it.
Yeah, it became a self-fulfilling prophecy in the press.
Like, there was a case in India where a 16-year-old girl tragically took her own life.
Yeah.
And she left a note explicitly stating she was distressed over her low grades.
She literally wrote it out.
She wrote it out. Yet, authorities and local news still pointed the finger at the Momo challenge. And there were similar unfounded links in Colombia and cases in the Philippines.
The narrative just solidified into perceived fact. And once local authorities treat something as a fact, the escalation begins.
So, if the police and media essentially invented this connection out of thin air, how did it escalate from a few local tragedies in South America to a complete global meltdown?
To map that escalation, we have to look at the anatomy of the explosion that took place in early 2019.
Let's do it.
Because it wasn't a slow burn. It was a sudden, violent, algorithmic spike. And it started with a very, very mundane action.
What was it?
In February 2019, a concerned mother in a town called West Thoughton in the UK posted on a local community Facebook group.
Oh, wow. Just a regular Facebook group.
Yeah. She had heard a rumor from her son at school about this creepy Momo thing, and she posted a warning to other parents.
It's the classic neighborhood watch post. Like, hey, everyone, keep an eye out for this. Stay safe.
Exactly. But we don't live in a world where local community boards exist in a vacuum anymore.
That's for sure.
Local and regional news outlets constantly scrape social media for high engagement content. So the Manchester Evening News picked up this mother's Facebook post and ran a story on it.
Oh, no.
And once a regional newspaper validates a Facebook rumor by printing it, the national tabloids jump on it.
Right, so it graduates from a neighborhood whisper to actual news.
But the real tipping point, the moment this went nuclear, was when the Police Service of Northern Ireland, the PSNI, issued a formal public warning about Momo on their official channels.
Oh, man.
That's it.
That is the crucial inflection point. When law enforcement issues a public warning, the media calculus completely changes.
Journalists no longer have to verify if Momo is real. They don't have to fact-check the monster. They only have to report that the police are warning about it.
Oh, that is such a subtle but huge distinction. The rumor is instantly laundered into an official institutional fact.
Exactly. Schools see the police warning and immediately draft letters to parents. Child safety organizations issue press releases.
And then the celebrity megaphone gets turned on.
Yes.
Because Kim Kardashian took to her Instagram, where she had, I think, 129 million followers at the time. Yeah. And she posted this frantic warning about Momo.
And she was tagging YouTube, right?
Yeah. She was publicly pleading with YouTube to remove the content.
And look at how the rumor had mutated by the time it reached that level.
Yeah, it changed entirely.
It was no longer just a WhatsApp number you had to actively text. The panic morphed to fit the specific anxieties of modern parenting.
Right.
The new rumor was that Momo was being secretly spliced into safe, algorithmic kids content on YouTube and YouTube Kids.
The Peppa Pig panic.
Exactly. Parents genuinely believe their toddler could be watching an innocuous episode of Peppa Pig, and halfway through the video, this horrifying, lidless face would cut in and instruct the child to turn the stove on or go find a knife.
I mean, that is pure, unadulterated nightmare fuel.
It really is.
As a parent, you rely on those algorithmic guardrails. You think you've set up a walled garden with an app like YouTube Kids.
Yeah.
And suddenly you're told a predator has easily slipped past the gates and is sitting right there in the living room with your child. The panic was just absolute.
Complete hysteria.
But we have to look at what that panic actually achieved.
Right.
Because we have that data from the Southwest Grid for learning the SWGFL.
Yes, and the data they captured is arguably the most important piece of evidence in this entire story.
Tell us about it.
So the SWGFL monitors internet traffic across thousands of UK schools. They track the search traffic on 2,681 school networks.
That's a huge sample size.
It is. And they looked at the search volume before the official PSNI police warning and the search volume immediately after.
Okay, and what happened?
After the police issued the warning, which again was designed to raise awareness and protect the kids, searches for Momo on school computers spiked by 45,000%.
Wait, 45,000%?
45000%. Yes.
That is insane. So the adults sent the warning email, Kim Kardashian posted the story, the parents panicked, and the result was that millions of kids who had never even heard of Momo went to school, sat down at a computer, and immediately typed it into the search bar.
It perfectly illustrates sociologist Stanley Cohen's theory of the moral panic, which he developed back in the 1970s.
Oh, I'm familiar with this.
Yeah, Cohen argued that societies periodically undergo periods where a condition, episode, or person emerges to become defined as a profound threat to societal values and interests.
Right. And he called those perceived threats folk devils.
Right, exactly. Folk devils.
So Momo is essentially the ultimate 21st century digital folk devil.
Without question. But the most vital part of Cohen's theory is the role of what he calls moral barricade managers.
Who are they?
These are the editors, the politicians, the police chiefs, the experts, basically the people in charge of public safety.
Okay.
In the Momo case, the authorities and the media genuinely believed they were acting with the best intentions.
Sure.
But structurally, they functioned as folk devil amplifiers. They didn't suppress the threat. Their warnings became the very broadcast mechanism that delivered the threat to the children.
Here's where it gets really interesting to me, though. I have to ask about the motivation of these so-called moral barricade managers.
Okay.
Are the authorities actually trying to safeguard children by sending out these mass, completely unverified panic alerts? Or is there, like, an element of institutional self-preservation going on?
What do you mean?
Like, is it a case of covering their own bases? Well, we sent the warning email. We warned you, so it's not our fault if something happens. Like, you can't sue the school district because we sent a newsletter.
It's a harsh way to look at it, but historically, that is a major driver of institutional behavior.
It makes sense, unfortunately.
We exist in a hyper-litigious, highly scrutinized culture. Schools and police departments are constantly attacked for what they fail to catch.
Right.
So the institutional default setting shifts to hypervigilance. The threshold for issuing a public warning drops to practically zero.
Because verification takes too long.
Exactly. The priority is demonstrating action. It becomes a liability management exercise that's just wrapped in the language of child safeguarding.
Wow. So the authorities are managing liability, the media is chasing clicks, the parents are spiraling in anxiety, and the kids are just left to navigate the fallout.
And that leads to a really fascinating finding from the Indiana University ScholarWorks paper.
Yeah, this was wild.
The researchers realized that the adults and the kids weren't even panicking about the same thing.
Not at all.
The Momo challenge actually fractured into two completely different legends, depending on what generation you belong to.
It's a tale of two entirely distinct boogeymen occupying the exact same name.
Exactly. Let's look at the adult legend first. For the parents, the police, and the journalists, Momo was a narrative about a tech-savvy, anonymous predator.
Right, he was a hacker.
Yes. Someone who understood the YouTube algorithm better than the Google engineers did. A syndicate using dark web tactics to bypass firewalls, steal personal data, blackmail children, and orchestrate this global suicide ring.
The adult legend is basically a techno-thriller.
It is.
And it makes perfect sense because it mirrors adult anxieties. Like, adults fear the opacity of the internet. They fear data breaches.
They fear what they can't see.
Right. They fear the fact that they hand their kid an iPad and have absolutely no idea how the recommendation algorithm actually functions under the hood. So Momo became the avatar for their loss of control over the technology in their own homes.
But if you talk to the kids, if you look at the kid legend, it was a completely different story.
Totally different.
Children weren't talking about IP addresses or hackers or data privacy. For kids, Momo was a literal supernatural monster.
Yeah. The kids were passing around stories saying, if you don't forward this WhatsApp message to 10 people, Momo will materialize in your bedroom at 3 a.m. and stab you while you sleep.
It's just traditional folklore.
Exactly. It was spreading by word of mouth in the school cafeterias, on the playgrounds. It's the exact same psychological software that ran the Bloody Mary legend back in the 80s and 90s.
Precisely. The Indiana University researchers connect the kid version of Momo directly to the broader ecosystem of creepypasta.
For anyone unfamiliar, what is creepypasta?
Creepypasta is basically user-generated internet horror fiction. It's the modern, crowdsourced campfire story. It's the genre that gave us characters like Slender Man and Jeff the Killer.
Right, those weird internet myths.
And this whole ecosystem thrives on a folkloric concept called ostension.
Ostension. Let's really dig into what that means in this context, because I had never heard that term before.
In folklore studies, ostension is the process of acting out a legend. It's bringing the myth into the physical world. So if Bloody Mary is the legend, going into your bathroom, turning off the lights, and spinning around 3 times in front of the mirror. That is the ostension.
Got it.
And in the digital age, ostension has been weaponized for algorithmic engagement.
Oh, you're talking about the YouTube 3 a.m. challenge.
Exactly. You had these massively popular YouTube creators channels like Lauren's Side or Aldo's World TV, which have millions and millions of subscribers creating videos where they engage in digital ostension.
So they would sit in a dark room at 3 a.m., film themselves, pretending to text the real Momo number.
Right, and then they'd fake a jump scare.
Yeah. A door would slam off camera, or the Momo face would get edited to flash on the screen with a loud noise.
And here is where the algorithmic pipelining gets really, really dangerous.
How so?
Because for an older audience, or for the creators themselves, it's understood that this is digital theater. It's essentially professional wrestling for the internet.
Everyone knows it's fake.
Right. But the YouTube recommendation algorithm doesn't understand context. It doesn't understand media literacy. It only understands watch time and engagement metrics.
Right.
So a younger child, maybe 7 or 8 years old, who is watching something totally harmless, gets served a thumbnail of a screaming YouTuber and the Momo face.
And of course they click it.
They click it. And because they lack the developmental ability to understand the meta joke, they view these highly produced 3 a.m. challenge videos as literal documentary proof that the monster is real.
The algorithm basically pipelines them from safe content directly into monetized terror.
Yes.
But, we also have to recognize the historical shadow that was hanging over the parents while all of this was happening.
Yeah.
Because the parents' amygdalas were already primed to panic.
They were.
And it was because of a very real, very tragic event that happened just a few years prior. The ScholarWorks paper notes the profound impact of the 2014 Slender Man stabbing in Wisconsin.
That case was just horrifying.
It really was. 2 12-year-old girls lured their friend into the woods and attacked her. And they claimed they did it to appease Slender Man, which, as we just discussed, is a completely fictional internet creepypasta character.
It was a horrific tragedy where internet folklore literally bled into real-world violence.
Exactly. So when parents in 2018 heard that a new internet monster was telling kids to do violent things, they weren't reacting to a blank slate.
No, not at all.
They immediately mapped the Slender Man trauma right onto Momo. Their fear of an online folklore game turning deadly wasn't entirely irrational. It was based on historical precedent.
That's a very fair point. But the crucial difference is that Momo was a hoax from the start.
Right.
However, the media's behavior in reporting the hoax actually birthed a completely different, very real danger.
And this requires a major pivot in our understanding of the whole situation.
It does.
We have to move away from the fake monster. And we need to look at the highly documented medical phenomenon of suicide contagion.
Yes. And to understand the media's catastrophic mishandling of Momo, we have to look at its immediate predecessor. Because Momo wasn't the first viral suicide game to break the internet.
Right. That title belongs to the Blue Whale Challenge.
Exactly. The Blue Whale Panic started in Russia around 2016. A Russian newspaper called Novaya Gazeta published an article falsely linking 130 youth suicides to a supposed dark web game.
And the claim was that curators forced kids to complete 50 escalating tasks over 50 days, culminating in suicide.
Right. It was a massive exaggeration of deeply tragic but largely disconnected events.
But the global media picked it up and reported it as an absolute, verifiable fact.
They did. So when Momo appeared on the radar a couple years later, the media and the public were completely primed.
He already believed that sophisticated suicide games were a reality.
Yes. They simply swapped out the name Blue Whale for Momo, inserted the picture of the rubber bird, and restarted the exact same panic cycle.
But by treating these hoaxes as real front-page news, the media actually triggered a public health crisis.
Yes, they did.
We look at that peer-reviewed study from JMIR Mental Health, and it looked at the contagion effects of self-harm challenges on platforms like YouTube and Twitter. So how exactly does social contagion work when we're talking about mental health?
In public health and psychology, social contagion refers to the phenomenon where certain behaviors or emotions or conditions spread through a population. It functions very much like a viral pathogen.
Like catching a cold, but behavioral.
Essentially. And when it comes to suicide and self-harm, decades of data show that how the media covers a tragedy directly impacts the public.
How so?
When media depictions extensively dramatize or detail or sensationalize self-harm, it normalizes the behavior.
Okay.
For a teenager who is already vulnerable, severely depressed, or feeling invisible, seeing a massive global media apparatus obsess over a suicide game can provide a cognitive script.
Right. It validates their ideation.
Exactly. It inadvertently models the behavior as a way to express their pain or finally be seen.
It reinforces it. Like, if it's the lead story on the nightly news, it accidentally frames self-harm as a recognized, viable, albeit tragic action.
Because of this incredibly well-documented risk, organizations like the Suicide Prevention Resource Center, the SPRC, have developed strict, scientifically backed safe messaging guidelines for journalists and content creators.
So what do those guidelines actually look like in practice? If a journalist has to report on this, what are the rules?
They are very specific. They dictate that you must always emphasize seeking help, and you must provide local hotlines.
Makes sense.
You must emphasize that suicide is preventable. You must list the warning signs of depression.
Okay.
But most crucially, you are explicitly instructed to avoid sensationalizing the narrative. You must avoid showing scary or triggering imagery, and you absolutely must avoid sharing graphic details or methods of self-harm.
So the JMIR study took those SPRC safety guidelines, and they evaluated the YouTube videos that were covering viral challenges like Momo and Blue Whale,
Yes,
and the results are just infuriating.
they really are.
They found that over 50% of the YouTube videos discussing these challenges actively violated the safety guidelines.
Half of the highest visibility content was doing exactly what public health experts beg them not to do.
Right.
They were flashing the triggering image, they were detailing the supposed methods the monster used to hurt kids, and they were hyping up the fear just to keep people watching.
And almost always without providing a single link to mental health resources.
Exactly.
This is the paradox that makes this whole deep dive so heavy. We had major child welfare charities in the UK. We're talking the Samaritans, the NSPCC, the Safer Internet Center, releasing urgent statements, basically begging the press to shut up.
They had to publicly call out the media for spreading fake news.
Yeah. They were pointing out that the media's hysterical reporting, which they claimed was to raise awareness about a fake suicide game, was actually generating a massive real-world risk of suicide contagion.
The attempt to cure the panic was literally acting as the disease vector.
Exactly. The charity stated explicitly, there is no evidence of anyone dying from Momo, but the inescapable, sensationalized media coverage of self-harm is actively triggering vulnerable individuals who are just trying to recover.
It's devastating.
It makes you want to pull your hair out. We get so completely obsessed with fighting this shiny, terrifying, fictional monster that we become completely blind to the actual systemic damage we are inflicting by screaming about it.
And that profound contradiction leads us to the deepest, most philosophical layer of this entire phenomenon.
Which is?
Why do we consistently do this as a society? Why do we focus on the fake monster while ignoring the real threats?
It's a great question.
To answer that, we turn to the research from the Scalar Environmental Humanities Project.
Right, this source was fascinating.
They introduced two concepts that fundamentally reframe how we view our relationship with the internet: the technosphere and slow violence.
Okay, let's start with the technosphere, because I know the biosphere is the realm of living things, the atmosphere is the air. What exactly is the technosphere?
The technosphere is the physical, geological accumulation of all human technological infrastructure.
Physical stuff.
Right. We have been conditioned to think of the internet as the cloud, this weightless, invisible, magical realm of data that just floats above us.
Right, it doesn't take up space.
But the technosphere is deeply, brutally physical.
Yeah.
It is the millions of tons of toxic e-waste piling up in landfills in the global south. It's the massive energy-devouring server farms that require constant cooling. It is the thousands of miles of fiber optic cables dredged into the ocean floor.
The physical reality of our digital lives is taking an unimaginable toll on the planet's ecosystem.
And the scholar Rob Nixon refers to that toll as slow violence.
Slow violence.
Exactly. So slow violence is a term for destruction that occurs gradually and out of sight.
Like what?
It is delayed. It's climate change, ocean acidification, the slow poisoning of a community's water supply from industrial runoff. It is violence that lacks a cinematic explosion.
Oh, I see.
Because it happens on a timeline of decades rather than seconds, the news media struggles to cover it, and human neurology struggles to care about it.
Because evolutionary biology wired our brains to run from the tiger jumping out of the bushes right now.
Exactly.
We are not wired to panic about the gradual warming of the tiger's habitat over the next century.
We just aren't.
And the fascinating cultural thesis that the Scalar Project proposes is that viral hoaxes like Momo serve a very specific, almost required psychological function for society.
Yes, they argue that these hoaxes are a distraction from slow violence.
The author argues that it is psychologically comforting, even easy, to fight a rubber bird woman on WhatsApp.
It gives us an immediate outlet for our anxiety.
Right. It is infinitely harder to sit down and comprehend the massive, invisible, planet-altering infrastructure of the technosphere, or to face the reality of global ecological collapse.
Now, I want to pause here because the Scalar source makes a very specific, politically charged argument to support this cultural thesis, and we need to unpack what they're saying neutrally.
Oh, for sure. The overarching thesis the author is making, regardless of where anyone sits on the political spectrum, is that those in power actually benefit from our distraction.
Yes. The author uses philosopher Michel Foucault's concept of biopower. Let's define biopower first. Go for it. Michel Foucault coined biopower to describe how modern nation-states manage the lives of their populations. In the past, power was about the sovereign's right to kill you.
Right, the king's executioner.
But modern biopower is about the state's power to foster life, manage populations, regulate health, and crucially, decide which populations are allowed to be exposed to death or environmental degradation for the sake of the economy.
It is the administration of life and death on a systemic level.
Right. And the Scalar author applies Foucault's biopower directly to the political climate of 2018 and 2019.
And just to be super clear with you, the listener, we are strictly analyzing the cultural thesis presented in the source material here. We aren't taking a political side or endorsing this stance.
Right, exactly. We're just outlining what the author argues.
Okay, so what is the author's specific argument?
The author specifically points to the Trump administration's deregulation of the Environmental Protection Agency and the withdrawal from the Paris Climate Agreement.
Okay.
The argument the text makes is that political and corporate entities utilize biopower to prioritize short-term economic growth over long-term environmental regulation.
I see.
And while systemic, irreversible environmental harm is being legalized, society is obsessing over internet boogeymen.
The distraction is a feature of the system, not a bug.
Exactly. It is a profound critique of where we assign our collective panic. When we ask why we prefer the boogeyman, the answer is agency.
Agency.
Momo is a tangible, localized enemy. You feel like you can defeat Momo.
Yeah, you can check your child's iPad, you can set a strict screen time limit, you can share a warning post on Facebook and feel like a protector of your community.
It gives you an actionable to-do list.
It gives you the illusion of control.
Yeah.
Because you cannot easily defeat the algorithmic design of a multi-billion-dollar tech monopoly that prioritizes engagement metrics over child safety.
No.
You cannot easily comprehend the global supply chain of rare earth minerals required to build your smartphone.
Yeah.
And you certainly cannot easily defeat global climate change.
It's too big.
I was thinking about this, and it's a wild thought, but is it possible we actually wanted Momo to be real?
That's an interesting way to put it.
Think about it. If the threat to our kids is just a rogue hacker with a creepy profile picture, we can fix that. We block the number, we delete WhatsApp, problem solved.
Right.
But if the actual threat is that the internet itself, the water we swim in every day, is an unregulated psychological Wild West designed from the ground up to hijack our dopamine, monetize our outrage, and pipeline our kids to extremism for ad revenue, well, we can't just block that.
No, we can't.
Acknowledging the real threat requires changing how we live entirely.
And that is the tragic core of the moral panic. We latch onto the hoax because it reduces massive, overwhelming, systemic failures into a simple narrative with a single bad guy.
It was a comforting delusion.
But if we accept that the boogeyman is fake and that the systemic architecture of the internet is the real challenge, how do we adapt?
Right.
How do we exist in this space safely without losing our minds?
Which brings us to the most practical part of our deep dive, the toolkit for the digital age.
Yes, let's get into the actionable advice.
Because if the monster is rubber, but the anxiety and the algorithms are real, how do you protect the people you care about? We synthesized the advice from Western Sydney University, the Mental Health Foundation of New Zealand, and leading internet safety charities.
So the first rule is the absolute foundation of digital literacy. Investigate before you react.
It sounds so simple, but it's hard in the moment.
It is. When you see a terrifying post, your amygdala will scream at you to hit share immediately to warn your tribe.
You just want to protect people?
Right. But you have to learn to override that biological hijack. Take 30 seconds. Use reliable fact-checking infrastructure like Snopes or Full Fact.
Western Sydney University points out a trick that is almost embarrassingly simple but incredibly effective.
What is it?
Whatever the new terrifying threat is, just type its name into a search engine and add the word hoax or scam.
Oh, that's smart.
Right. 99 times out of 100, the first result will be an article debunking it.
Rule number 2 is non-negotiable, according to the Mental Health Foundation of New Zealand. Do not amplify the panic.
Do not share.
They strictly advise against sharing the terrifying imagery, even if your explicit intention is just to warn other adults.
You have to remember the 45,000% spike in searches we talked about earlier. Your warning is the vector.
Exactly. The algorithm doesn't care that you caption the image with, "Watch out for this, parents."
Right, it doesn't read the context.
It just sees that you shared the image, and it pushes it to more feeds. The image itself causes genuine psychological distress to young people. By sharing it, you are doing the monster's work for it. You are increasing the surface area of the trauma.
Rule 3 is about how you approach the children in your life. The Mental Health Foundation uses the term compassionate carrero, which means conversation or discussion.
You have to create an environment of psychological safety.
Let's talk about what that looks like in practice, because the wrong approach is disastrous.
Right. The wrong approach is a parent bursting into a teenager's bedroom, holding up their phone and interrogating them. Like, "Are you playing the Momo game? Let me see your WhatsApp right now."
Yeah, if you do that, you have instantly made yourself an adversary.
The child will completely shut down.
So what's the right way?
Compassionate Carrero means asking broad, open-ended questions during a low-stakes moment, like when you're just driving in the car together. You say something like, "Hey, I've been seeing some weird, scary stuff on the news about the internet lately. Have you seen anything online recently that creeped you out or upset you?"
Just let them lead the conversation.
Exactly.
And that leads directly into Rule 4. Look for real signs of distress, not digital ghosts.
Right?
You shouldn't be scrolling through their phone looking for a rubber bird avatar. You need to be looking at their physical, human behavior.
You are looking for the clinical markers of depression, anxiety, or self-harm.
Like what?
Is the child suddenly withdrawing from their friend group, or are they avoiding family dinners? Are there unexplained severe mood swings? Are they wearing long sleeves and hoodies in the middle of summer? Because that can often be a sign of hiding physical self-harm.
You're tracking human behavior, not app behavior.
Yes.
And the overarching lesson here is that banning social media or confiscating devices the second you get scared usually backfires.
Oh, almost always.
Because if a kid knows that telling you about a scary video means their phone gets confiscated for a month, they will never tell you about the scary video.
No, they'll hide it. They will just process the fear alone in the dark.
Children need to know they can bring their digital anxieties to the adults in their lives without the threat of punishment or isolation.
It requires a fundamental shift in how adults view their role.
How so?
We have to move from being reactive protectors who panic at every shadow to proactive guides who teach media literacy.
Yeah.
When you see a post designed to terrify you, you have to ask the structural questions. Who benefits from my fear right now? Is this page just trying to get engagement to boost their ad revenue? Is this an algorithm trying to keep me on the app?
You have to become the critical, grounded consumer your kids need you to be. Take a breath. Look at the whole incredible, bizarre journey we've mapped out today.
It's been wild.
We started back in 2016 in a Tokyo art gallery. A special effects artist named Keisuke Iso molded a piece of natural rubber to represent a spirit of tragic childbirth.
A physical object created to explore folklore, never intended to harm a single person.
And through the chaotic alchemy of Reddit's visual hooks, a tragic coincidence in Argentina, local news scraping Facebook, police liability management, celebrity megaphones, and an algorithmic architecture designed to monetize our deepest fears.
Wow.
That piece of rubber became Momo, It became a global symbol of every parent's darkest anxiety about what the internet was secretly doing to their children.
It stands as the ultimate case study in how our best, most protective intentions can be weaponized.
Yeah.
Our desperate biological need to warn our tribe was exploited by the platforms we use to communicate, ultimately causing the exact panic, distress, and contagion we were trying to prevent.
And there's one final, incredibly poetic detail to this story that perfectly closes the loop on Momo.
What's that?
I mentioned earlier that Kisika Iso made the original mother bird sculpture out of natural rubber and plant oils.
Right, physical materials.
Well, because he used natural, biodegradable materials, the sculpture simply didn't last. By late 2018, the rubber had degraded, dried out, and rotted so badly that ISO simply threw it in the trash.
Oh, wow.
By the time the world was at the absolute peak of its panic in early 2019, the physical monster had literally decomposed into garbage. It ceased to exist in the real world entirely.
But the digital ghost, the image, the fear, the legend,
Hmm.
that ghost went on to terrorize the globe for months afterward.
Yep. It lived entirely in our heads, sustained by our networks and our screens.
It is a haunting, undeniable reminder of what we give life to through our attention.
Which leaves us with this final thought. The next time you are scrolling through your phone and a frantic warning pops up on your feed urging you to protect your loved ones from the latest invisible digital threat, take a pause.
Just breathe.
Feel your heart rate spike. Recognize the fear, but do not click share. Ask yourself, are you actually protecting anyone? Or are you just keeping the ghost alive by feeding it the one thing it desperately needs to survive? Your attention.